Hey guys, Justina with Bohemian Magic here today, and I got a new toy that I want to share with you guys. I picked up a pack of these Master's Touch Fine Art Studio Woodless Watercolor pencils. So I wanted to kind of do a little review on them. I haven't used them yet. I'm going to use them on a piece that I'm going to paint for you guys today, but I just wanted to show them to you really quick. This one comes with 12. And I had watercolor pencils. I used these watercolor pencils, and these were cool, and I've had these for a very long time. But as you can see, the green is almost done. I don't really have much left of that. And I have to keep sharpening it because, you know, there's wood all around it. And I just think that's a really big waste of a pencil. So, I mean, I still have a lot of these left, but I really needed a lot of the green wood because I'm doing a whole storybook on planting a tree. And what color are trees? They're green. So I've been using a lot of my green color. So, I wanted to go look for another set. I wasn't even looking for woodless watercolor pencils. I was just looking for another set so I can get, more of the green pencil. But then I came across these, which I thought were really cool because these you have to sharpen them to get the point on it, but there's no wood on it. This is just paper. So when this wears down, you just peel the paper off and it's all still, this is a solid block of watercolor. And it's just in pencil form. I'm really looking forward to painting with these today, and I'm going to demonstrate with you how they work while I paint my picture of planting a tree. I've been commissioned to do this piece, and so I'm just trying to get these done now at this point. Let's get started. I have my cute little people that I drew onto my Arches block paper. This is watercolor paper. This is paper specifically made to, get wet and put watercolors on, and it absorbs it really nicely. And I think this is the cold press watercolor paper. There is hot press water paper, but the hot press is smooth. The cold press has these nice little grooves in it that catches the paint nicely. And as you can see, the paint catches the grooves really nicely. And it looks like it gives it that little bumpy effect when you put the pencil on it. So I thought that was really nice. So this is one of my pieces for the book, and she's whistling a little tune. So right now I'm just kind of I'm putting on my first wash, and what a wash is it's a combination of your paint and your water, and you're going to use more water to paint ratio, and you're just going to cover your surface. I'm leaving some white around the edges, kind of like a highlight, and you just blot, take out any excess paint that if you think it might be too bright on the first wash around, because what you're going to do is you're going to build up your colors in layers. So I'm just blotting the first wash. And now I'm going to let that dry a little bit, so we're going to come back to that, and I'm going to, just kind of wash out the whole picture. I'm using tube paints right now, but I don't know, I'm thinking this one maybe looks a little dull. So maybe I'll switch to my cheaper paint. This is just a Crayola palette, and I do switch back and forth to good paint and cheap paint. Like, these are really good paints. These are Winsor and Newton paints. That's like really good paint. But sometimes if I'm not getting the look I want, because sometimes these two paints, this one, my blue ones can be a little dull at times. So, this, you get a really good pigment on that. So I'm going to use some blue from this. Use a little bit of blue, and then I'm going to dilute it a little bit on the plastic part here. And then I'm going to go in and put that color down, and see how much brighter that is? It's so much nicer. So I'm just going to wash that in, go around my edges, and for this I'm using a kind of a pointier brush. And I mean, this is just my technique. I mean, I'm sure other watercolor artists have their own techniques. And that's fine. I mean, just do what feels comfortable for you. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then we'll come back and then we'll finish the tree and, you know, the grass and stuff. Okay, so we're back. And I did my other side with the blue paint in the background. Now I'm going to do the grass, and I'm going to do the same thing with the grass that I did for the tree. I'm going to put down yellow color because that's going to be our lightest color. And trees are green, but we're going to build the green on top of the yellow. So we're going to do the grass yellow to start off with. So I'm just going to, you know, wash this on just like I did with the tree. Just like Bob Ross. I'm gonna paint happy trees. Okay, see, now I put way too much yellow on here, so I'm gonna blot it out. And just pull it back out. Pull it back out. And you don't have to worry about the edges too much, like where I go over it, because that's going to be all cleaned up with the watercolor pencil. I'm going to define the lines for the outside of the grass, so that's fine. But if you feel like you need to, you can always take a smaller brush and you can always go into the smaller creases. If that's easier for you to get in there, then that's fine too. And just blot. Just blotting as I go. So now we're done with the grass, so now we're going to go into the tree. And for the tree, I think I'm going to start with a yellow ochre. And the yellow ochre is kind of just like a cross between brown and yellow. And this one, it's been sitting around for a really long time. I've had these since I was in art school, so they're kind of tacky. But they still work nonetheless. I mean, even when watercolors are dry, all you have to do is add water to them, and then they're good to go. So I'm going to just smear some there on my palette. It's kind of gummy right now, actually. So I'm going to add a lot of water. You're probably like thinking like, trees are brown, why are you painting it yellow? Well, because trees, like everything else, have highlights. And before you put the dark color down, you gotta put your highlights down first. Because in watercolor, once you go dark, there's no turning back. So it's important to do your lighter colors first. You want to build those colors up by doing these washes. So now what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to fill these people in. So I'm going to give him a red shirt. I'm using my crappy palette for his shirt. Because I think the colors are very bright. And I like that for their clothes, because we want them to look as cheery as possible. Oh, let's see what happened there. Got a little blue on his shirt, so I just pulled it back out with some water. And now this is way too much blue, so I'm definitely going to have to pull some color out here. I don't have skin colored watercolors. So what I usually do, and I kind of cheat here, but I mean, who's making up the rules? They're your rules, it's your painting, and if you want to do something a certain way, then do it. I use acrylic paint, and I'm going to show you how I use the acrylic paint, because normally, you know, you just squeeze some acrylic paint out of a tube, and then you just like swash the brush in it and then go. But acrylic paints dry very fast, and they're not very pliable to work with, as aren't really watercolors too, because once watercolors, you put down the light color, and then you gradually build up to your dark colors, and you can never go back the other way. You can't really put highlights back into watercolors unless you kind of use it as more of an acrylic medium. Like if you put less water in it, maybe you can get some of your highlights back, but ultimately it's kind of hard to do that with watercolors. So with acrylic paints, to use them as watercolors, I just water them down a lot. So I'm going to show you how I do that right now, and we're going to apply the acrylic paint as watercolors, and that's going to be our skin tone. So here we go. Okay, so what I've done is I've just added a little bit of the acrylic light portrait pink to my palette in acrylic. It's acrylic paint. And we're going to use this paint as watercolor paint. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure you have a lot of water on your brush. We're going to take a little, can't see that. We're going to take a little dab of the acrylic. We're going to bring some over here, and we're just going to add more and more water to it until it has a consistency of an actual watercolor. And it's going to drip a little bit, and that's going to be fine. So you're just going to add a lot of water to it. And there you have your acrylics like watercolors. Now we're going to apply it to our face here. Now that looks like a little too much, so we're just going to do the same thing we do with the watercolors. If you have too much on your brush, you can take it out with your towel. And then we're going to do the same for her, and the same for his hands, and we're going to build up these colors for his skin tone with our color pencils, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So I'm going to finish laying out all of my base colors, and then I'll come back and we'll start working up with the shadows and layers and stuff. So I'll be back. Okay, so we are back, and I filled in the rest of our base wash, and I actually ended up using a little pink color pencil on her already because I didn't have any pink acrylic or watercolor. So I have a pink pencil, so I kind of used that a little bit for her base. I just used a lot of extra water. We're going to start rendering, and we're just going to start building the layers of colors. And once you put like a wash on a certain area, you shouldn't go back to it until it's completely dry, so then your colors don't get muddied together. So I'm just going to like work on each individual section on its own. Now around our grass, I'm going to actually use our pencil. So now here's our watercolor pencil. This one's like a light blue. So I'm just going to kind of outline our grass a little bit. kind of up to where it starts to curl. I don't want to do the actual curl because I'm going to do that in the green. I just kind of want to distinguish between the sky and the grass at this point. Now this is a solid block of watercolor, so be careful where you put it, because if you put it in certain spots it's going to bleed if you have too much water down, like I do right here. So I'm going to blot that back out. Alright, so there's one rendered section with the watercolor pencils, and I really like how it really emphasizes the edges and makes it really pop. I didn't render the grass yet. We're gonna get to that in a minute. Maybe I'll do that now so you could see. So I'm just gonna do this one little section so you guys can see how I render the grass. I'm not gonna do the whole thing because we'll seriously be here all day again. Like I said, these watercolor pieces, they could take up to 5 to 8 hours a piece to finish because it's layered and detailed. Just gonna start on this side and kind of blend it into the lighter area, and then blot. So it kind of fades from the dark to the light. Okay, so as you can see, I finished rendering this whole patch of grass right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the little squiggly lines at the top and just kind of, accentuate those lines. Now, this isn't showing up on this part so much right now because this part is actually a little still damp. Not to the touch, but this paper absorbs water. So if your watercolor pencil isn't coming up, isn't making streak lines, that means this hasn't absorbed all the water yet. And see, these parts were a little more dry, so I was able to get some streak marks down. So this just has to dry a little more, and then once that's more dry, I can go back in and put more streak marks on it. But for now, I'm going to let that sit, and I'm going to move on to this side of the page. So see? Before, after. How beautiful. Alright, so I'm going to do that, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so we are back, and as you can see, I completed both sides with the rendering, but I didn't do the color pencil on this side yet. So before I do that, though, I'm going to show you how I'm going to start rendering the tree bark. I'm going to use a brown Woodless Watercolor pencil, and I'm just going to start sketching some shading color, just like I would do with a normal color pencil. Like that. And now I'm going to take my little brush, make sure your rag is in place so you can dab while you're going. I'm just going to start rendering this. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm putting more definition into this guy's hair. Alrighty, so since we last braked, I put a lot of detail into the tree, and I started putting some detail into the leaf portion of the tree. I started doing some of the hair, and kind of gave her some definition in her clothes, and I rendered her skirt and her leg a little bit. Overall, it's coming together nicely. And right now I'm going to finish her other side of her hair, and then I'm going to try to finish some of this tree up here. Very detailed now. Now I gotta do his face. And I think this piece is almost pretty much done. I think I'm just gonna finish it, and then I'll show you the finished piece once it's all done. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Hey guys, so I'm back, and I have finished my piece, as you can see. There are still little spots that I think I could use some more work on. I definitely want to go back into the tree a little bit and render that better. But just for the sake of this video, I wanted just to show you my usage of my new watercolor pencils. I used a combination of my new ones and my old ones. So I have here these Woodless Watercolor pencils, and the good thing about these pencils is that you don't have to, there's no wood involved in when you sharpen it. So when you sharpen these pencils, you have the wood around it, so you know, it's splintery. you run the risk of the pencil, the watercolor pencil itself just breaking off, and you have to sharpen it more because you gotta get around the wood, and then you gotta, I think it's a waste of, you know, watercolor and materials. So with this, you don't even have to sharpen the wood. I mean, you sharpen the watercolor obviously because this dulls down after a while, but ultimately you just peel this paper, and you don't run the risk of actually like ruining the points or having it break off in the wood chips or whatever. So that's one of the pros about this pencil. One of the cons that I noticed about this pencil is that as much as I sharpen it, I noticed that you really don't get, I mean, these are a lot softer. These are a lot more like an actual pencil. So for the fine detail and the fine lines, I found myself often going back to this pencil to get in like the face and do like the details on the eyes and the mouth and the nose and stuff. But these are very soft, so they dull a lot faster. So it was harder for me to get the details. So that's the con with that. So I was finding myself, you know, I did find myself keep switching back and forth between these two pencils still. Another con about this pencil is that the packaging, it came in this really flimsy wood pack, and over time, and these are watercolor pencils, so eventually, you know, maybe over time it would deteriorate the package. I mean, you can rip this, it's very flimsy cardboard. But with the other ones, the wood pencils, there's this really nice tin case that I can keep them in and, you know, transport them, put them in a bag, and I don't have to worry about, you know, the packaging ripping and the color pencils getting, you know, wet and getting all over everything. So, because when you wet these, they do smear because they're water soluble. So they do smear. So what I found is that my new watercolor pencils fit in my old tin case. So I can use this to carry these around. And then I could just, you know, put these in like a regular tin case. These pencils are a lot heavier than these pencils. Like, this puts some weight into my hand. These are very light, like color pencils. So I would rather protect these because there's no wood surrounding it. So these get wet, everything around it is screwed. So I'd rather have them in a tin case. So that's what I did, and my new pencils came with the exact amount that this case was made to fit. All of my pencils in here like that, and then I could even switch cases. There you have it. There's my product review and my finished painting with my new color pencils. And I did use a combination of both, and I'll put the links down below. And check them out. And if you want to try drawing with them, and you can add a video response to this video and tell me what you thought of either brand. And that's about it.